everybody. Welcome to another edition of Inside the Pigskin. Missing Stephen Reichel, but I feel bad for my brother from another mother because we have so much college stuff. We'll get Stevie back in the rotation when we do more NFLA. But meanwhile, Marvin and Mel will have a little bit of bannering later on. But glad to have Ben and Tommy on. Busy show. Let me just get to the agenda right now. Let's give Vanderbilt a little bit of love. All they did was beat Tennessee to finish 10-2. So let's go over the Vanderbilt Commodores and the Indiana Hoosiers. Indiana, by the way, finishes 12-0 under Curt Cignetti, but got to give them a little bit of love. At one point or another, okay, the Vanderbilt Commodores had their best start since 1941 when they began the year 7-1. If that wasn't good enough, they were ranked as a favorite against an SEC poll for the first time since '98, a win against LSU. My goodness. Then again, everybody seems to be beating LSU. We'll see what happens later on down the road. Vanderbilt was also ranked number 10 for the first week ever. And let me tell you, this is just unbelievable stuff. And Indiana were both in the top 10. Interesting to see what directions they're headed in the postseason. Vanderbilt's headed to a bowl game. Indiana has a date with Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game in October 20th. Get this, Vanderbilt is ranked in the AP polls, and this is just unbelievable. They were ranked in the AP polls, the top 10, for only the fifth time ever. 1937, 41, 47 twice, and 2025. So let's talk about the tale of two schools, Tommy. Vanderbilt's finally getting a little bit of love, and they certainly deserve it. Obviously, they took Missouri and LSU were some signature wins for them. Tommy, take it from there.
Yeah, I was watching MSN Now. It's called now MSNBC today, and Willie Geist, Vanderbilt grad, was talking about how he got there at Vanderbilt in '93, and this year is only the fifth winning season he's enjoyed as a Vanderbilt alum fan. And so Clark Lee, the Vanderbilt coach, is a Vanderbilt alum. He was intent on rebuilding that program. He's taken advantage of the new college landscape with NIL. And just like Cignetti, he caught lightning in a bottle with a quarterback, that Diego Paiva that they brought from New Mexico State with the former New Mexico State coach. But let's not forget, the Vanderbilt rebuild began under James Franklin.
Right.
They were an embarrassment for decades. And Franklin rebuilt the program to respectable 500 type teams. And from there, he cashed in with the Penn State job. And now look at Penn State. They don't have a coach.
Don't worry, next week we'll be talking about that in more detail. I think what's interesting about the Vanderbilt situation is they end up taking down Missouri to get to their 7-1 start, and then they're up being ranked as a favorite against LSU for the first time in '78. These are uncharted waters for Vanderbilt. They really are. Thanks, Marios. We appreciate you being in the chat room. So we're down uncharted waters for this school. They really are. So go ahead, Mel. What are your thoughts about the Vanderbilt Commodores? This team is something we're going to have to take a little bit seriously now.
Yeah, like Tom said, the rebuild started with James Franklin, and it's good. I think it's good for college football when you have schools like Vanderbilt that are doing well. We know that it's a very high academic school. They've never won. It's been one of those games that you look on your schedule and you knew that, hey, man, that's a pad my stats game. I got to make sure I get everything I can get in the first half because I know the second half, the second and third string guys are going to be playing. I probably won't see the second half. So, whatever I'm going to do, I need to do it in the first half. And I think it's really good for college football. Like Tom said, they caught lightning in a bottle with the quarterback. They have to run a certain type of program to be successful in the SEC. Sort of, kind of similar to what Georgia Tech was doing when they're running the triple option, but not so much. I mean, it's kind of a triple option, but they do it from a shotgun formation. And so, teams don't know how to defend it. At some point in time, maybe they'll catch up to it. Maybe they won't because they don't see it so much. They may not practice it a whole lot, so it might not be anything they have to worry about. But what makes that offense go is the quarterback. He's changed the program. Now, it'll be interesting to see when he leaves what they're able to do, if they're able to continue this momentum. But obviously he has, he's at his destination job. Vanderbilt, the coach, is, he went there. He went to school there. This is his destination job. He's not looking to go anywhere else. And I think it's good for college football, and I think it's good for the students at Vanderbilt, and I think it's good for the SEC.
Yeah, I think what's interesting about it, I want to repeat this fact because it's really neat, is if you think about it, they're only in the top 10 for only the 5th time ever. I'm going to repeat those years again: 37, 41, 1947 twice, and 2025. This team is in Nashville, the metropolitan Nashville area, and and Candy and I, when we were out in Nashville, actually drove on their campus. Pretty neat how they had that stadium right in the middle of their area. So with that said, Van, obviously you've probably been to Vanderbilt a few times. What are your thoughts about the Commodores?
Really, really impressed. I mean, I don't think we talk enough about Vanderbilt. We get so caught up in the usual suspects when you talk about college football. I mean, people talk about Ole Miss and what they've done this year. Ole Miss ain't done anything in the SEC either. It's just that they're Ole Miss, and they've had Archie Manning, they've had Eli Manning, they got the hottie toddies, they got the 18 miles an hour. Diego Pavilion, what he does for college football is showing that college football has gotten a lot more even than people want to give it credit to. They used to call Vanderbilt the Duke, of the SEC because of what they did, as Tommy mentioned, when you talk about what they do academically. Nobody wants to play Vanderbilt right now. They are not the Vanderbilt when I was in the SEC, and they had Jay Cutler. Jay Cutler ain't never had this much success when he was at Vanderbilt. So I'm really, really impressed by him. And I think the thing about it is they're doing it at the right time. Yeah, what they haven't done in the past ain't got nothing to do with this current crop of players, but they're peaking at the right time when they got a shot to make the college football playoff. And they are the best team in the state of Tennessee. As much as the Tennessee Vols are the biggest brand in the state of Tennessee, Vanderbilt is the best college football team in the state of Tennessee, and they proved that. So I'm really, really happy for them. As a person that obviously got to grow up as a young man playing for the Titans in Nashville, Vanderbilt, as Tommy and Mel mentioned, they used to be the pad your stats with those guys. That's not the thing. This started Yes, it started under James Franklin, but the world really understood 2 years ago when they beat Alabama. That goalpost still has not made it back to Nashville. I don't know where it is, but it has not made it back to Nashville yet. I'm very impressed with Vanderbilt because I think this is what happens. We want to look at it. If these current crop of players ain't got nothing to do with the tradition or lack thereof of the yesteryears, we should look at them for who they are right here, right now. There are a lot of teams in the SEC, including my Florida Gators, who ain't even going to a bowl game, and Vanderbilt is 10-2. You know who else? I mean, it's a bunch of 10-2 teams. I mean, you know who else is 10-2? Alabama. Alabama's 10-2. But they ain't looked at the same. So who the Alabama said they had to beat this year going into this year? It wasn't Georgia, even though they lost to Oklahoma. It was Vandy. That was the game of the week. So shout out to them Commodores. I hope they keep what they winning ways. Clark Lee, I mean, he seems to be the guy for the job. And Clark Lee was a part of those coaches that got a contract extension when they thought he was going to go to other schools. So think about the time to where Vanderbilt is giving a contract extension to their current coach because they don't want him to leave Nashville.
Great stuff, man, for a guy that actually played out in Nashville. All right, Marvin, follow that.
Yeah, Vanderbilt's one of those schools, one of those proud schools, academics real high, but they never took football real serious, kind of like UCLA, And the best thing that happened to Vanderbilt is just the transfer portal in NIL, and it's that simple. You know what I mean? You had Power 4 teams who had backup players who are just bouncing around trying to get playing time. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know Vandy's complete roster, but best believe they have benefited from players coming into that program on a yearly basis through the portal. Additionally, NIL. What are we talking about? Don't think that Vanderbilt isn't giving that bag up. They paying that bread. They getting players. So you're seeing what happens when you have a little more parity. You know what I'm saying? You seeing what happens when as Thomas said, you hit lightning in the bottle with a quarterback. In college football, that's everything. If you got a guy behind center, in the shotgun, and he's a guy, that's a big deal. You know what I mean? And you can win some games just on that. So definitely they're coming up. I like seeing some of these non-traditional teams do well. I like that. I think it's good for the sport. And just as a real fan of the game, I'm a guy who will root for an underdog. So kudos to Vandy, what they got going on.
Candy.
Hey, go ahead, Candy. Go ahead.
What I was going to say is, do you know when their first football season was for Vanderbilt? 1890. They're 135 years old. Are you kidding me? Like that's just I can't believe it. They actually won 14 conference championships. They actually won 6 national championships. Now, that was before the year of 1922, mind you, and I get that. They have 8 undefeated seasons. So they have a history. It just hasn't been good the whole last 80, 100 years almost. But,
Is that all?
well, just
Right.
being honest, I mean, if they have, their last national championship was in 1922.
Jeez.
Undefeated seasons 1890, 1897, 1904, 1910, 21, 22, 43, and 44. So it's been a while. But think of all the schools that have come since then. They're 135 years old. That's a long tradition. And hopefully they can change that tradition to being a good tradition. Starting with this year, they're having an amazing season, and yes, hopefully NIL is going to keep them, in there. I think it's helping with parity all over the league a little bit more. And yes, you're always going to have some schools that'll have the higher payouts, and the people that are making more money. But now that more people are getting paid, it's more parity in the league.
All right, back to Tommy. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just thought about this later. I wanted to add that the athletic director at Vanderbilt is a woman, Candace Story Lee, and let's give her some credit. She's the one that has overseen the program. They've rebuilt the stadium. And she would have been the one who hired Clark Lee, so she deserves a lot of credit for managing this new landscape too.
All right, so we're going to go rapid fire on this next topic, and I mean rapid fire. And that's it. Vanderbilt quarterback Diego Pavia's attorney is fighting for him to have a 7th season of eligibility. Tommy, should he get it?
No, I can kind of understand how the judge ruled that he equated junior college to these prep schools, and it shouldn't count as a year of eligibility. But 7 years, I mean, come on, that's getting ridiculous.
All right, Candy.
No, students don't stay in school 7 years.
I agree. 7 years is too much. Give somebody else a chance.
Mel?
No, I don't think he should be granted another year. He just got granted this year. This year they just played. At some point in time, you got to move on. Football's fun. But at some point in time, it's no longer going to be a part of your life. And I understand he's trying to hang on to it as long as he possibly can, because there's probably not an opportunity for him at the next level. But no, he shouldn't have that opportunity. No.
Ben?
No, I mean, because I think it's not so much if they granted him, it's what it says the players coming behind him. You start making exceptions for the wrong guys, and then the right guys will get told no. So I know what he's trying to do, and I know he's trying to savor its flavor as long as he can. But hey, man, you got to move on. You've definitely left a legacy, no matter what happens at this point. But I think most guys don't want to be in college 3 years, let alone 7. I mean, what are you trying to be? You trying to be Doc? You trying to be Dr. Pavia? No, man, move on with your life, man. There's a lot of other ways to make money. He'll be fine.
All right, Marvin?
Yeah, I mean, listen, when I was at USC, we had guys on the team who were in their mid to late 20s. I don't know if they had 7 years of eligibility, but that is what it is. I don't know all the circumstances, but just if it's just him, trying to get another year, 7 years is quite a bit.
All I'll say is no chance. Onwards we go. So get this. We talked a lot about coaching all year in college, and now I'm going to go back to Mike Gundy. Why? That's how behind we are at this stuff. But I think it's important to understand when we update these situations, this is where the timeline goes. But the early candidates to replace Mike Gundy at Oklahoma State included G.J. Kinney, Texas State. G.J. Kinney of Texas State, head coach, who's their head coach, Colin Klein of Texas A&M, their offensive coordinator, Falcons offensive coordinator Zach Robinson, Purdue head coach Barry Odom, North Texas head coach Eric Morris, who, by the way, did get the job, Oregon offensive coordinator Will Stein, who now is the head coach of Kentucky. We'll get to that at a later date, and Miami offensive coordinator Shannon Dawson. Now, on October 31st, okay, you've got Morris saying, you know what? I got a 6-year deal. I'm starting out at 6-1. How did that turn out? He's gone. Tommy, break this thing down, okay? 1 minute you're 6-1, you're staying, and don't worry, I got another one that'll be following up on that, and then he's gone. But he will be allowed to go ahead and coach through the postseason. But we're talking about the Oklahoma State job that went over to, obviously, Eric Morris.
Yeah, well, it's a natural progression. He wants to go to a Power 4 school. Oklahoma State's in the Big 12. Thing about Oklahoma State is they had a great run there when T. Boone Pickens put a lot of money into the program. He was kind of the first ones to be doing it.
Right.
It launched this wave of boosters funding programs. But he's been gone now for a few years, and Oklahoma State's program has gone downhill for a few years. So I don't know if that's as attractive job as it used to be, especially if they're not attached to Oklahoma anymore.
Yeah, and the reality is that was an interesting group of candidates that I just mentioned. A lot of recognizable names, some of them which have already landed had jobs. When I talk about Will Stein, for example, but Candy, your thoughts about that list that we just compiled?
Crazy to think about it. I mean, Oklahoma State. Wow. I don't know that that's a job that I would want. But there's a lot of them out there. We've seen a lot of coaching carousel changes, so you just never know who's going to be on the, and in this day in NIL, you have to perform because there's more parity, like we said, so you have to perform, otherwise you're out. And we're seeing so many of these coaches change. It'll be interesting to see which jobs, who has the most success in the jobs that they get.
I just hope one thing a year from now, I don't have to go over all this stuff and I can get back to the NFL stuff. But this college stuff is taking on a meaning like I never thought. I have fun doing this show the last several years. This is one of the most taxing, but I have no problem with it. It's just a different animal that I could have two inside the Pickens when I've had to deal with one and all the burden I put all on all you guys, but you guys are troopers anyways. Tommy's loving it, I don't know. And everybody else that is with it. Mel, tell us your take on Oklahoma State.
Did you say they did hire a coach?
Yeah. Eric Morris.
Who did they hire? You said the guy from North Texas?
Yeah, Eric Morris. He's a guy with North Texas. I can't hear you, Mel. Might have to speak a little bit louder.
Give me a second. I'm having some technical.
That's all right. No problem.
Go to Marvin and come back to me.
All right, go ahead. We'll go to Marvin. We'll go to Ben, and then back to Mel. Go ahead, Marvin.
Yeah, when you talk about Oklahoma State, man, I remember as a kid watching Barry Sanders. You know what I mean? I never heard of Oklahoma State. He put him on a map for me. I know before him was Thurman Thomas, but around that time. But Oklahoma State, listen, in the day of the transfer portal, like I said, a lot of kids at these bigger schools, I mean, that could be attractive to them. You know what I'm saying? Going to, if they're still in the Big 12, that could be attractive. You can sell, some kind of history there. Gundy had a little run. They won some games when he was there. And, I won't say it's a proud program, but they've had their success. Of the names you mentioned, Barry Odom at Purdue. This guy's a program builder. UNLV, when he started at Purdue. I think he's somebody. I mean, he's in the Big 10 now, so I think going to the Big 12 is a step back. Unless they want to give him some bread. But from North Texas to Oklahoma State, it's a step up. It's a program that has the ability to bring in transfers if they have a little bit of bread, and I know they got some oil money out there. So yeah, good for him. We'll see what happens.
Ben.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate what Oklahoma State is doing. I mean, Coach Gundy was there for a long time. And I think sometimes it's just being able to step away from a guy who's obviously had his fingerprint on that program for a long time. I mean, Coach Eric Morris coming from the AC. I like when these group of five coaches get a shot to come up there, to the G4. So I'm happy for him. We'll see what happens. But the thing about coaching in Oklahoma, you got to have ties in Texas as well. He's from Texas. And that's the thing about recruiting the state of Oklahoma. You also got to be recruiting the state of Texas. How do I know that? What was that running back from Texas name that was supposed to go to Texas and he went to Oklahoma? Adrian Peterson. from Texas went to Oklahoma. So he's looking to snatch a lot of these Texas kids from Texas to go to Oklahoma State. I'm happy for him. We'll see what happens. Because like I said, in the world of NIL, it's not how much money you spend, it's that you spend the money at all when it comes to these players. Oklahoma State got money. You don't got to worry about that. It's how they spend it. I will be watching Coach Morris. I'm always happy because most of the time they try to hire from within. I don't really like that. I don't like that coaching waiting. No, go get a coach that's been doing it at another school, in another conference. So congratulations to Coach Morris. We'll see what happens because the Big 12, I mean, it ain't what it used to be, but it's still very, very tough.
Okay, Mel. You're on mute this time. All right. He needs an engineer out in Atlanta. Mute, Mel.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
We're talking about Oklahoma State.
Correct.
Yeah, I think Oklahoma State is one of those programs that's real unrealistic about their expectations, and I think there's something structurally, fundamentally wrong with the way the program's set up because they were very competitive prior to NIL. So I think Mike Gundy can coach. I don't think because it's obvious what he's done over the course of his career, but I think there's something that they have to look at their structure and how they're structured in this NIL era to succeed. And I think whoever comes in there is probably going to run into the same types of problems that Mike Gundy had. I think it's going to be very difficult. I mean, that's a difficult program to begin with, and Mike Gundy made them relevant. So we'll have to see how it shakes out. But I mean, I can't say they upgraded the coach. I'm not going to say that because I think that Mike Gundy was a pretty good coach, and that was his destination job. So I think it was unfortunate that he got fired. But we'll see how things shake out this upcoming season in 2026.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see what Morris does for sure. Obviously, he's had some good success over at North Texas. So we're going to go to a situation Candy and I got pretty close over the weekend, and that's when we took the track up I-75. USF defeats Rice by a score of 52-3. At one point, USF head coach Alex Goldger said he planned to stay with the Bulls long term. Well, that was in mid-October. Guess what happens, okay? Candy and I go to a press conference, okay? Yes, you know it, Marvin. Okay, and that was 21 minutes. If that wasn't the biggest swan song I've ever seen, it's one thing. And I got to tell you something. And a very soft moment for yours truly. I got a picture with Mr. Golish. I really like the guy. I'm proud of what he's done, and it's something that I'm pleased with. And whether the PR guy likes it or not, too bad, because one of the stories that will be coming out on the South Florida Tribune, our website, will be the Mount Rushmore of coaches for University of South Florida. And the reason I had that picture taken with Golish was to put him on that list. That's me not looking out for me. That's looking out for the publication, a story for another day. So let's talk about around the crew here. Tom, what are your thoughts about Alex Golish? Now you see him, now you don't.
Hey, that's what coaches always do. Nick Saban said he wasn't leaving the Miami Dolphins for Alabama.
Right.
So they're caught between a hard two places, and they gotta still coach their team, but they want to move on to a better, higher level job. So it's not surprising. Some guys handle it better than others, but it's not surprising that these conflicts come up.
Candy, you were there with me. Explain to everybody what we had to deal with on many different levels.
First, there's that clip. So
talk about.
Go ahead.
A photo for the ages. Go ahead.
So we walk into this press room, and let's face it, USF is one of those programs that is a stepping stone. It's not an ending place for most coaches. It's a stepping stone, school. It's a school that is doing better than it was, but it is not one of the big elite schools. So it's a stepping school. And Alex Golish has done pretty good. So he walks into the press conference and he starts talking about his 3 years there. And right then and there, okay, this is going to be it. Because if not, I'm like, we just finished the regular season, 52-3 game. And you're not talking about the game first. You're talking about your years there. And You went undefeated at home, and you're not talking about that. You're talking about your years and build and having a process, and that the kids needed to believe in the process, and I just found it. I knew leaving there that he was no longer going to be the coach. We knew that, and without him saying that, obviously, because he was even asked that, and he just said that, please respect my time. I haven't had enough a chance to really think about it and process everything. You know, I was preparing for this game, and I respect that because that's what he was supposed to do. He had to prepare his team to play that game, the senior night, their final game at the stadium. But yes, we knew going after that press conference, I knew he was no longer going to be the coach at USF.
And let me preface this too. When I went to Golish, I looked him right in the face and said, "God bless." He said, "God bless" to me. And I'm going to tell you, down the road, and you guys know me for all the time y'all here, when the PR guy and I get in front of each other the next time on my turf at Florida Atlantic, this guy's going to have his head between his legs, just like Dave Dorn did a few weeks ago. Only this time, he's going to be eating crow in Boca Raton. Because in my opinion, you don't disrespect me out there when you know what I'm going to do, and we've done it. And this guy, and I'm not mentioning his name, but the reality is this, okay? I have worked my tail off with the help of all y'all to build this. This isn't about me. It's about the platform and getting the news right. And I'm going to tell you, I'm just glad he didn't take the Arkansas job, which everybody thought he was going to do all week. That would have been a job that would have been a tough sell for this guy. So he goes to Auburn. So I'll track his career there, but I have some unfinished to take care of with this PR guy with USF, and yours truly. I am a USF Bull, but when I get done with him, he's going to be calling me Mr. Bull. There you go, Mr. Bull. All right, Mel, take it from there.
Well, yeah, everybody wants to swim in the deep end. You know, so you start out in the kiddie pool, and then you move into you get out of the kiddie pool, and you move into the big pool, and now you want to go to the deep end. Everybody wants to see how they fare in the deep end. I mean, Scott Frost did that when he was at Central Florida. He wanted to venture out into the deeper waters and swim with the sharks, and that didn't work out well for him, and he came back. And I think everybody deserves that opportunity to see how good they can be. Everybody wants to try to play at the highest level. They want to try to coach at the highest level and see what they're made out of. And I don't fault any of these coaches for leaving and for another opportunity or perceived better opportunity. It's somewhat unfortunate the way that the college system is kind of set up, where it happens during the middle of the season. They need to come up with some type of collective understanding that they're not going to do this until the season is over. I mean, or at least a couple weeks into the playoffs or something like that. I mean, I think Lane should have had the opportunity to coach his team throughout the college playoffs to see how far the team could possibly go. But again, that's above my pay grade. But I don't fault these guys for leaving, and I wish them all the luck in the world. Now, most of the times it doesn't work out. These because the university is unrealistic with their expectations,
right?
And it's everything is about money. It's not about the experience. It's not about developing football players. It's not about developing young men. It's all about money. And so all the other things that that Marvin and I went to college for, gets lost. That doesn't matter anymore. Kids aren't even going to school anymore for the experience or to become better football players and to become better individuals and better contributing citizens to our society. They're all going to where whoever's going to pay them the most money. And, you really can't fault them for that either.
Ben?
I can't fault him. I mean, I'm never going to fault a coach. I just wish when it comes to the players, it was this much leniency. I mean, we know these coaches. We know the USF as a stepping stone, job for a bigger job. Nobody's mad at Coach Golish for going to the Auburn Tigers, right? It's just the fact that, listen, everything you say is archived. Every interview you do is archived. Right. This goes back. Remember in 2024 when the Texas A&M head baseball coach was talking about how I'm never going to leave Texas A&M. Where is he at? He went to Texas. He went to Texas. Right. These coaches act like we have I'm not mad at Lincoln Riley. Marvin, from going to Oklahoma to SC. Just say that. All you got to do is say, look, I want to go to SC. Period. Because when Lincoln Riley got hired, Bob Stoops knew that he was going to retire. They went through that entire recruiting cycle. They got all those kids they wanted. And when they got them all in, surprise, surprise, Bob Stoops, I'm retiring, I'm becoming an analyst, and Lincoln Riley's going to be the head coach. If a player pulls something like that, people would lose their mind. All I am saying is everything a player does, he learned from a coach. What did they learn? I got leverage. And while you have leverage, you better use it. And I'm not mad at the coach for using his leverage. I'm not mad at them for that. Auburn and USF is not in the same stratosphere. Can appreciate what he did at USF. But Auburn, I mean, since the time of Gus Malzahn, when they went to them with Tommy Tuberville, it's been a long time at Auburn too. Cam Newton is not walking out of that locker room. So I ain't mad at him. He beat my Florida Gators this year. They've been very, very impressive this year. I'm wishing them the best. I mean, not if they play Florida, but I'm wishing them the best. And like I said, to all these coaches getting head coaching jobs, I can't fault a guy for trying to get the most he can while he can. I mean, that's called negotiations. So I'm not mad at him for that. But you got to look at where you're going, not where you were. Because what you did at these other schools is cool, but where you going, that's a different barometer. So we'll see what happens. But Hugh Freeze was a dud. When Hugh Freeze was at Auburn, that was a dud. I mean, you won't even remember his tenure at Auburn. You ain't gonna remember a lot of guys. So, but shout out to him, wishing him nothing but the best. But anytime a coach talking about players, I just laugh. The only reason why Nick Saban is no longer in the NFL is because his training staff down there in Miami said that Drew Brees' ankle was messed up. He goes over to New Orleans with Sean Payton, and the rest is history. So people can say, hey, man, as great as Nick Saban was in college, he wasn't built for the league. The best coach we've ever seen, college and pro, you don't got to like it, is Pete Carroll. You do not got to like it, but check the stats. He did it in 2 places. I don't think that's going to happen again, but shout out to all these coaches, man, getting new head coaching jobs. We'll see what happens, man, because you're talking about NIL money. This head coach money, man, I mean, these dudes making $10 million. The fact that Lane Kiffin is the second highest paid coach and he's never won anything, and he's the second highest paid coach in college football. Hey, man, use your leverage while you got it, man. I picked the wrong profession. I should have been a head coach because they pay you to leave. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a job.
Well, keep in mind, when we left that night, Goldschmidt thanked the 28,000 fans at Raymond James Stadium. 28,000. You're going to triple that over at Auburn, number one. And the media coverage was awful, and the press box was empty. Give me a break. Hey, I love USF. They're my alma mater, but I also have a responsibility to be objective and impartial in this business, because that's what journalism is about. You have to be objective, whether or not I'm not here to kiss butts. I'm here to make sure the facts speak for themselves, and that's what I'm here to do. All right, Marvin, go ahead.
Yeah, football is a big dream industry. You know, when you're a kid, you don't dream of being the head coach of South Florida. You dream of being the head coach at USC, Notre Dame, Alabama, these type of schools, not UCLA, but the top schools, the big schools. You know what I'm saying? And you know, it's if he is really a dog, if he's really a competitor like we see and we think he is, it's of course he's going to move up to the bigger program, to the better program, to the program with more money, that's more relevant. That's in his nature. You know what I mean? You see it in all these young. I mean, ambition is part of it. You know what I'm saying? You got to have it. You know, and even to even have a chance to be great. So yeah, by nature, because of what's in his heart, and that's greatness, and wanting to be the next Nick Saban or Pete Carroll. Yeah, it's a situation where, of course, he's moving up. And the reality is the NCAA, the football calendar sucks. It really does. That there needs to be a better, cleaner opportunity for these guys to make professional decisions and not look like scumbags. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you look at Lane, you look at your boy Golich here. I mean, it's a tough deal. You know what I'm saying? But what are they supposed to do? You know what I'm saying? So, change the calendar. And if you don't understand that these dudes, these young fiery coaches got ambition and they want to move up, so they will leave you to go be with, whoever's bigger and better. And that's just what it is.
Well, let me tell you, Jim Leavitt, to me, built that program from scratch, was loyal. Yes, he has a temper. He probably made a lot of mistakes that probably got him in trouble there. I get that. Okay. I mean, and I had an incident with him on the field. Then again, everybody looks at me, you have an incident with everybody. So what? I do. I am who I am, man. It is what it is. But at least the incident we had was, you want to promote the program? Talk to me. You did. This guy was great. but we were yelling at each other because it was loud at Raymond James. And you know what? I had a good interview with the guy. I like the guy. He needs to be more appreciated there. Yes, he's in the USF Athletics Hall of Fame, but they didn't have him as part of the ceremony, but he's still in there. But this guy needs to be appreciated more. He was loyal. Obviously, they've stuck with him. He's been through a lot of off-field incidents. I get that. But Jim Leavitt, to me, is the University of South Florida football. So what's their plan in place now? Guess what? They hired Derek Brooks as their chief operating officer with the South Florida Bulls. USF will need him now with Alan Golish's departure. Okay, Marvin, let's go backwards here. What are your thoughts about Derek Brooks, not only what he did with the Bucs, but he's with the Bulls?
I'll tell you what, this is Derek Brooks gave me the hardest hit of my life. I'll tell you that on a play action. I was playing around, going through the whole BS and not thinking he gonna read run. He read run and almost killed me. Listen, man, this is a NFL Hall of Famer, one of the great. I think he was Man of the Year as well. Absolutely role model, somebody who these young men, young student athletes will definitely will understand. If they don't know who he is, their daddies will, and their daddies will tell him who he is. But yeah, anytime you can get a man of that caliber, that kind of experience, that perspective, that greatness, that champion, you can get him around young men. It's a major win. This will only help that university because he represents all the right things. You know, you see, guys like Sapp, who always talking up to this dude, always telling you what he meant to him, and that was his brother, and what a good man he was. And other players as well. You've heard John Lynch say the same thing. So no, Derek Brooks, man, listen, great Seminole, great Buck, and I'm sure he'll do outstanding for that university. That's a big win for them.
Yeah, and also I should take note that Leroy Selman was another Buck that went over to do with the Bulls. He has a building named after him. So Leroy Selman, Derek Brooks, to the credit of USF Athletics, they know how to get Bucks that are in their community and bring them up to 75. So that's unbelievable stuff by the Bulls, bringing in not only Leroy Selman, now you add Derek Brooks. All right, Ben, what are your thoughts about what Derek Brooks can add to what another big voice in that coaching?
I think it's huge. I mean, the thing about Derek Brooks, and people don't want to give him enough credit for, I had a cup of coffee with the Tampa Bay Bucks back in 2008. Nobody has done more for that city than Derek Brooks. He started a school down there in Tampa. I mean, you look at what he meant, not just to the Bucks, but to that city. And I agree with what Marv just said. If you don't know who Derek Brooks is and you go to USF, you don't deserve to go there. You do not. I don't care that he played for Florida State. Derek Brooks is a great human being. He loves the Tampa community, loves it. Family man, man of faith, and he loves the people. So USF is understanding that while our coach is moving on, if he does this, and you tell me if I'm wrong, Scott, if he brings a stadium strictly for the Bulls, that's legendary stuff. Raymond James is cool. USF has been around too long for them to not have their own stadium. Don't give me that where you're going to put it. Figure it out. Figure if the Tampa Bay Rays can finally play in Tampa, because they was in St. Pete, you can find a stadium for the USF. I don't want to hear it. If people can find some space and the people will come. But when I saw this, Derek Brooks is a great man, and he loves his sports. Not just the Tampa, not just USF, but even the arena football team. He was involved with them when they was down there. So Derek Brooks, like I said, I mean, I wish I could have had a chance to play with him longer just to learn life through this guy. At the greatest weak side linebacker to ever play football is Derek Brooks. And I'm just happy for USF, man. They understanding we got to have a guy who understands the community. We got to have a guy that when he walks in rooms, he demands the room and he knows business. He knows all those things. Yeah, that's a out of this world hire for USF. I'm happy for them down there.
Well, and just an update on that situation. Glad you brought it, because we actually posted a recent video on the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. Candy and I went up there on Sunday morning, and we got, Candy, explain to the video that we shot over there.
We shot a video of the construction site where they are constructing the new stadium on campus for them. It opens, I believe, in 2027. It's a 35,000 seat stadium that will be on campus right next to their performance their indoor facility and their other sports complexes down there.
Yeah, 35,000 probably ample time for what they need. God only knows if I'll be alive to see it or whether I need to talk to this other guy if I even want to in 2 years, because who knows, but that's beside the point. 35,000. Go ahead, Marvin.
Ben, you put you put him over Junior Seau at weak side linebacker, Derek Brooks?
I wouldn't consider Junior Seau weak side linebacker. I know you're going. I wouldn't consider Junior weak. Junior played weak. He wasn't a true. He's really a middle. You know I'm not putting nobody over Junior. You come on, Mom. You know I'm not putting no. Junior Seau was a renaissance linebacker. He could play middle, weak. I'm just a true weak. What is what I'm saying with Derek Brooks was Junior Seau is the linebacker of all linebackers. I wouldn't come on, man. No. Man, he rest in paradise, Junior. I wouldn't even disrespect that man. I wouldn't disrespect that man in life. You know I'm not gonna disrespect him in death. So no, nobody's over Junior.
I wasn't taking it there, man. Yeah, I got you.
Indeed.
All right. Okay, Mel, some thoughts about Derek Brooks. We got a few things I want to get to before Ben has to get going, but we're on a really good pace tonight. Go ahead, Mel.
It kind of runs contrary to everything we're talking about in college football, because no kids are really going to school because of the type of characters and the character of a person at the university. People are going to where they're getting the most money. So it kind of runs contrary to everything that we're talking about. But as far as a human being and a person, I've never met him, but I've only heard things about him. He is all of that, everything that you would want probably, for you, if you have a daughter, probably the type of man you'd want your daughter to marry, to bring home. So, that's the kind of guy he is. He's very passionate about football, very knowledgeable guy, very intelligent guy. Like Ben said, a man of extreme faith. And it's the kind of guy you want to have, you want to send your kids to. You want to send your kids to this type of guy. And like I said, it just kind of runs contrary to everything we're talking about in college football, because it doesn't seem like the universities care about that anymore. All they care about is the almighty dollar and trying to get into college playoffs.
Candy?
So he's been a pillar of the team Tampa Bay for the last 30 years and a leader of the state of Florida his entire life. In his new role, Brooks has numerous responsibilities, including service as a lead community ambassador, football and men's basketball administration in tandem with the CEO Higgins, revenue generation, sports tourism strategy, enhancing student athlete experiences, and Team Tampa Bay local pro franchise relations. The one thing I will say is that also probably enhanced his wanting to work at USF. If you guys don't know, he has a wife. He has 4 children. One of his daughters actually is currently a junior infielder on the USF softball team. So she goes to school there and plays on the team. They did really well. The softball team did really well this last year. So, but he's all gas, no brakes, no regrets, no excuses. And he said, "Go Bulls." That's what he said. So,
okay, Tommy.
Yeah, he's rooted in the community. He had so much credibility. It's a great story. College Football Hall of Fame as well as Pro Football Hall of Fame. But I looked at his bio, and the thing that impresses me, in addition to all that, is that he started a school. I think Mel mentioned that, or Ben mentioned that. Yeah. And that's something that an athlete can have so much influence on, and it's not easy to do. Andre Agassi did it in Las Vegas. David Robinson did it in San Antonio. LeBron James did it in his hometown of Akron, and that's really admirable. I really respect him for that. But we can't mention Junior Seau. I got to mention this. This is my signed picture from Junior Seau.
Nice.
T-Tom, thanks for being a friend when I was down. And that's because I was in San Diego a long time. Junior is from Oceanside. I wrote about him when he was in high school, and then when he went to USC, and he was a prop 40. What is it? 45, 48.
Prop 48.
48.
Prop 48.
Yeah. And but here's my best Junior Seau story. I was a Cub reporter my first year at the Oceanside Blade Tribune, which doesn't exist anymore because newspapers have been dying, suburban papers. And they sent me out to do a story on this senior star football player at Oceanside High named Savai Seau. And so I did my interview with him. And Savai tells me, Tom, about 5 years, keep an eye out for my little brother. He's going to be a great one. And he was talking about Junior Seau when he was still in middle school. So that's how great Junior was.
Great stuff. All right. Well, you know what? Let's go on to Kirby Smart. I like this guy. The more I think about him, he says, I don't believe in ultimatums. I don't think it solves anything. I'm kicking players off the team for driving arrests. So guess what? He has a team back in the SEC title game versus Alabama, and he's for 5 straight years, and he's been in 8 of the last 9. So Kirby Smart. Tommy, what are your thoughts about this guy? I have no problem with him. He certainly has Georgia as a powerhouse over there.
He's kicking players off the team for driving problems.
Yeah.
He's not.
Is there anybody,
No,
is there
he's
anybody
not.
left on the-
He's not.
is there anybody left
No,
on
he's
the
not
roster?
doing it. He's
Half
not
the
doing
team
it.
does.
Huh?
Half the team has driving problems.
Exactly. Great point, Tommy. I don't believe in kicking him off. All he does is get win. If you're going to kick him off, you got to do way better than that, right, Tommy?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure he's living up to that bold of a statement, but it's the right attitude.
I have reliable sources that says he's not kicking people off because of driving arrest. Why do you think they're so successful? 8 of the last 9 in the SEC championship game, 5 straight. Okay, and an initial title in his pocket. Candy?
You know, Kirby actually has worked with some of the great coaches. He worked under Bobby Bowden. He worked under Nick Saban. He's worked under some good coaches that he's taken a little bit of, and then he's put himself in, and he's having good success. So kudos to him.
Mel? Hey, Eddie. I got news for you. We'll get to some of your stuff. I believe in Bobby Knight way of discipline of athletes.
It sounds like the same type of rules they have over there at USC. I mean, they don't care, man. They just want those guys to show up and play football. They're always getting in trouble. I mean, every day I turn on the news, it's one thing after another with these guys at Georgia, man. And they already had, a kid that was killed, man. I mean, I don't understand it. I don't understand. I mean, it just goes back to Kirby doesn't care. All he cares about is winning and losing. That's it. All he cares about is winning. And that's how it was with that program across town too. The same way they didn't care about the type of characters that they brought in there. They just cared about trying to get W's on Saturday.
And they're doing a lot of it. All right, Ben. It's your conference.
Yeah, Kirby Smart understands that he wants to build a certain type of precedent when it comes to how we're dealing with players. I mean, Jalen Carter. I mean, you look at the type of player he was at Georgia. He was the one that was involved in the incident with one of his teammates, and I think a young lady that worked on the team got killed when he was doing like racing a vehicle. Kirby Smart knows that he's going to have to deal with disciplinary stuff, and he's going to deal with it case by case. AKA, how good are you? How good of a player are you? Will decide how I look at it. And most of these guys are going to be high caliber players. So, and he learned it under Nick Saban. I mean, Nick Saban was a guy. He's always talking about his time at Michigan State, not throwing Musa Muhammad off the team. That's who Kirby Smart learned under. So I get it. I understand. Kirby Smart knows that he's going to be remembered for how he treated the players and did he win. And when it comes to a place like the University of Georgia, yeah, they dominate the headlines. But a lot of times when they get in trouble, it's in Athens. If they get into trouble in Athens, what is the Athens PD going to do? Report it. They ain't going to jail. They ain't getting in trouble for real. And that's most places that got big-time university like Georgia. So, yeah, of course, Kirby Smart that's a recruiting tactic. I don't do ultimatums. Most young men don't even know what an ultimatum is. Can't spell it, and they don't know what it is. But their parents do. So that's how they recruit down there in Georgia. So, hey, man, I ain't mad at him. He ain't the first coach to not have him. He just can publicly say it. When you're the highest paid coach in college football, everything you say is a headline. Everything you do is a headline. But he making sure. But as long as he winning, man, he can say whatever he want, do whatever he want. If he was losing, these type of statements wouldn't fly. But he winning, man. He getting it done right now.
That's funny. I tell you, got me laughing. I'm surprised I didn't turn red over your comments, but that was good. All right, Marvin, top that one. That was pretty
Yeah,
good.
listen, in a day and age of the transfer portal and kids bouncing, these coaches trying to preach family hard. Family. You know what I'm saying? And, Kirby understands that when you're dealing with a 19-year-old, young, confident football player, or frat boy or whatever, these 19-year-old kids on campus, they feeling themselves, man. You feel like you're invincible. You feel like, it can't happen to you. You know what I'm saying? You in that moment, and you just young. He realizes that. So he's not kicking kids off the team for behavior that's almost expected, as crazy as that may sound. And, it's just one of those things where, again, as hard as it is to keep these players, man, like Ben said, you got to evaluate the whole situation on a case-by-case basis. I get that. That's real. So as a player, that should encourage you. And it's not right, but you better bring value to the table, baby. You better bring some value, because if you just, if you a Jimmy but not a Joe, then, you got to go, and that's my take.
Well, go ahead, Tommy.
Well, I wanted to add about Nick Saban and Muhsin Muhammad. I hate it when coaches use that as an example of how they're saving guys' lives. He's got 100 players on his football team. How about a guy like that John Beam that we've talked about at Laney College that was shot? What could he do with Nick Saban's salary? How many lives could he save? I hate it when coaches use that as their excuse for giving guys a second chance. They're dealing with 100 players. They're not dealing with the thousands of kids from tough backgrounds going to tough schools that need help.
Great point, Tommy. I really like that. And don't worry, tomorrow night when you come on the Sports Exchange, you're going to have an extended time with the Shanahan Report. Great stuff, though. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about your favorite person, Nick Saban. And then we have a couple of other NFL topics. I want to get Marvin involved as well. Nick Saban, obviously, his wife said, Terry, that he's done coaching. And they ended the speculation when they were looking at him for the Penn State job. Guess what? Even Kalani Siteki turned it down, Tommy. So I don't know. What would you think, Tommy? The wife definitely ruled Nick, and he's definitely not coaching anywhere.
His wife said on ESPN it's got to be $50 million. Nah, Nick Saban's done coaching. He's in his 70s, and he's from the old school. He's not going to have donors and players. He's not going to have donors telling him what to do to bring in players. He's not going to have agents of players tell him what their salaries are going to be. Nick Saban coaching in the new world, that makes me think about when I'm going back in time. Barbara Walters was the first woman news anchor, and Harry Reasoner didn't like it, didn't like working with her. Dan Rather didn't like working with Connie Chung. That's Nick Saban. No one's going to tell him what the new rules are.
Yeah, well, I got to hand it to his wife, Terry. So, that's okay. Just do what you're doing. I mean, got to have a good, strong woman, right, Candy? After all I'm dealing with you, I still may be a little out of control, but you got to have a strong woman, right?
Yes, you do. But Nick Saban, let's face it, he's been there, done that. He's accomplished so much in his coaching career. At age 74, why would you want to try and go back and, in this realm of NIL, deal with all of that? Not only NIL, but all these institutions that are one and dones. Hey, if you don't have success, we're going to get rid of you. He doesn't have to be in the locker room for how many hours, or in the room watching film for the next opponent, trying to recruit his own players and new players. He can sit back. He can be a football analyst. Let's face it. I'm sure he's getting paid very good money to be an analyst on ESPN College Game Day. And he doesn't have to be at work 24/7 as some of these coaches have to be now for the college season, and then fly around and be away from your family when you're recruiting as well. So he's had
power. Yeah, more power to Miss Terry. Thanks, Candy. All right, Mel.
Yeah, I think he blames a lot of it on Miss Terry. He uses that, but he doesn't want to go back to coaching. Like Candy said, he's 74 years old. And then, he coached at such a high level. The expectations, when you bring in Nick Saban in, the expectations are, they're going to be championship or bust. And that, that's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of pressure that he had to deal with. I think he's enjoying himself on College Game Day with McAfee and the guys. There's no stress. He has other business interests as well. He's got some car dealerships. He doesn't need the money. He wouldn't be going back for the money. The The landscape has changed since he decided to leave the game. He had left the game because the landscape changed, because it wasn't the same as it was before.
Right.
You know, kids weren't going to school because of the value that the college would bring to their lives. So, you know, he's done with it. And, you know, he does a great job on TV. He doesn't, you know, he doesn't need to do anything else. He doesn't need to prove anything else. He's proved that he's the greatest college football coach of all time. You know, why would he want to mess that up? You know, unlike, you know, Bill Belichick.
Great point, Mel. All right, Ben.
Nick Saban's not going to come back to college football because his competitive advantage is gone. NIL makes things even. When it wasn't on NIL, nobody could out recruit him because nobody could beat him. So when it came to getting the best players in the country, he got it. His last national championship, I think, was in 2020 when the pandemic was here. Nick Saban isn't crazy. The last thing I want things to be is even. I don't want to deal with that. And all power to him. I mean, 7 national championships, 6 at Alabama and 1 at LSU. I mean, I don't see nobody really competing with nothing like that. But Nick Saban don't want to have to deal with. How is Nick Saban going to make a player listen when the player he's talking to makes millions? They ain't going to listen to you the same. When I'm the only one making the most money on the team, you're going to listen to everything I say. Well, if I just negotiated $4 or $5 million in my current year, I'm listening to you, coach, but I ain't hearing you. I'm gonna respect your position, but I don't know if I respect what your words. And Nick Saban don't want to deal with that. And that's what he knew that was coming. He was like, it's gonna be extremely difficult. Now you don't know if a player isn't playing well because they're not playing well or because they want more money. I don't know. So Nick Saban got out when the game was good. Look, I can see what's coming. And the one thing people with money have that other people with money don't have, they can predict the future because they are the present. Oh, I can predict what's coming because I predict what was. So I'm not mad at him. But Nick Saban, I mean, you know, he need to write a book on his wife. I mean, he blamed everything with his wife. Well, my wife said this, my wife said that. But to those of us who are married, if wife said you ain't doing it, you ain't doing it. 50 million, 70 million, but he's 74 years young, man. What else can he do but tarnish his image and legacy if he does go back? So, hey, I don't know if it's a Nick Saban Jr., but if it is, he better do real estate. He better not coach because he can't fill them shoes. That's not happening.
Marvin, you have the last word on this.
Yeah, just to piggyback on really what Ben said, you know, Saban built his philosophy from his days at Michigan State, his days at LSU, and you know, I think that whole pitch is different to guys who got bred. You know what I'm saying? What you're trying to preach and what you value and what you think they should value is different when they got some bread. Granted, I do think if he had Drew Brees in Miami, it would have been a different outcome for him. But you know, I don't think that this new day, this college football the way it is now. I mean, it changed overnight, literally, is for him at all. To all the points really that were said.
Okay, rapid fire. The next topic. We got to make sure we get Ben in on this one. Going into the season, these are the top 10 backup quarterback situations in the NFL. I'm going to read them all, and then everybody can narrow down to 1 or 2 that turned out the best. The first one was Jimmy Garoppolo of the Rams. Second one, Kirk Cousins of the Falcons. Daniel Jones was considered a backup at the time. I don't know how that turned out. Gardner with the Colts, of course. Gardner Minshew with the Chiefs. Tanner McKee with the Eagles. Kenny Pickett at that time was with the Browns. Joe Flacco with the Browns. Malik Willis with the Packers. Marcus Mariota with the Commanders. Mac Jones with the 49ers. And Sam Howell with the Vikings. Rapid fire, Tommy. Tell me the 1 or 2 that you feel have worked out the most.
For the 2025 season?
Pardon me?
Yeah.
For the 2025 season or their career?
No, we're talking about this season only.
Yeah.
Top 10 backups going into the 2025 season.
Flacco was a starter at Cleveland. None of them have worked out, have they? I was going to say, for going by career, I was going to say Kirk Cousins.
No, we're going to talk about this season only, Tommy. This season.
None of those guys stand out to me.
Okay, that's fair enough. Candy?
But Daniel Jones was a starter, right?
Well, and that's where I was going, Tommy. So we'll let you just say Daniel Jones because he was a backup turning into a starter. So
then it would be Daniel Jones, yeah.
Yeah, we'll put you on the hook for Daniel Jones. Okay, there you go, Candy.
I mean, obviously, all out of all of them, the ones that had the most success, you know, would be Daniel Jones at this point.
Okay, but you're allowed to name another one. Is there another one on that list that stands out?
I mean, Flacco has moved from one team to another, and he's had some success. So,
okay, All right, Mel.
Was Daniel Jones really a backup? I thought they came in there, it was going to be an open competition for Richardson. But the one that really stands out, and I think you mentioned his name, you rattled them off so quick, is Mac Jones. I mean, Mac Jones has done a great job.
Okay, you want me to go more again, or you want to go?
No. Mac Jones is who I'm going with.
I always do things fast. Okay, I don't know any other way. I eat fast, I talk fast, and now I do this. Okay, Ben.
Yeah, I was gonna say Mac Jones too. I mean, he played a really, really nice role when Brock Purdy got hurt, and even though they ain't winning games, just to keep that team afloat, Marcus Mariota has done a really, really good job filling in for Jaden Daniels. Hasn't got the wins, but he's not the reason why they losing either. So I would go Mac Jones 1, Marcus Mariota 2.
Okay, Marvin.
Yeah, Mac Jones' value, I think, has increased. If San Fran wants to trade him, get a pick or something like that, his value has gone up from what he did this season, I think.
Okay, I'll tell you what, I'm going to surprise everybody with my selection. Don't sleep on Malik Willis. This guy here, obviously, to me with the Packers, if Jordan Love goes down, Malik Willis is a guy that I think can step in right away because he's the second year in that system. I like Malik Willis.
Have you seen him play?
Yeah, I've seen him play over in Green Bay. That's all I need. Okay. I'm talking about where he's at now. We're talking 2025 season, a brand season. I didn't say you're going to start this guy. I'm just saying he's a good Band-Aid in a pinch. That's all. I'm not asking this guy to win a Super Bowl. Remember, you're talking about a guy who obviously has watched, who's old enough to understand Bob Greasy had Earl Morrall. And you got to have that great old backup. So, yeah, Malik Willis, but I think there's no question Mac Jones has done a good job. And Marcus Mariota's been a career backup. So you have a lot of interesting people on the list. And Daniel Jones started as a backup and became a starter. That's why I threw this question out there. It's a thinking man's question, people. Thinking man. That's why I had this group of quarterbacks. You think you don't need to pass a Wonderlic test to go ahead and figure out this. This is one of those where you have to think. So, all right, but everybody did a good job, come up with some original answers. That's why I threw it out there on the table. All right, let's talk about the NFL players that retired earlier. Frank Ragnow, guess what? Retired, could pass his physical, back on the retired list. My goodness. Okay, Aaron Donald of the Rams, Andrew Luck of the Colts, Luke Kuechly of the Panthers, Calvin Johnson of the Lions, Todd Gurley of the Rams, Patrick Willis of the 49ers, Jim Brown of the Browns, Lynn Swann with the Steelers, Gale Sayers with the Bears, Barry Sanders of the Lions. What was the most shocking of this group, Tommy, in your mind about who retired way too early?
I think it has to be Andrew Luck as a quarterback because, well, was he 29 years old, and quarterbacks can play into their 40s. So, but he said he was having too much physical pain, so certainly understandable. But nobody knew that was coming because nobody knew how much he was suffering.
Candy?
I'm going to agree with Eddie in the chat room, Calvin. Calvin Johnson surprised me.
What about you, Mel?
Well, I would say that Jim Brown surprised me, but I don't remember that. But I wasn't around for that. But I mean, looking back, that is kind of shocking. But I mean, I think there was a contract dispute. He just said, how Jim Brown is. He's one of the militant type guys, and he just threw up the middle finger and said, "Deuces." But Barry Sanders was probably the most shocking to me that I can remember. Barry Sanders retiring when he did. Just as a fan of football and appreciating him and what he did at that position and where he was in as far as history was concerned in breaking the NFL all-time rushing record, that was very shocking.
Ben?
I'm gonna say two. I'm gonna say Luke Kuechly / Patrick Willis. You talk about two dudes that dominate the linebacker position. They just walked away. I mean, both of those guys, defensive player of the year, all these first team all pros. I mean, Patrick Willis, when he retired, he had a tie on his neck. He ain't even have it on his shirt. He was ready to get the hell up out of there. And Luke Kuechly is about as good as a linebacker. I mean, I know the obvious choice is Andrew Luck or maybe Megatron. But when Patrick Willis and Luke Kuechly walked away, it was all of a sudden. And if you are Calvin Johnson, you play for the Lions. I mean, you trying to go. They ain't these Lions. They were those Lions. So I'm not mad at Megatron, but I would go Luke Kuechly / Patrick Willis.
What about you, Marvin?
Yeah, I wasn't around, but when you understand that Jim Brown was coming off leading the NFL in rushing, was the best player in the league and walked away over a contract dispute, knowing that he can make some money in Hollywood. That was a boss move by a big player. Talking about the civil rights movement, black men didn't have opportunities like that, and for him to take such a bold move because he knew his value, I think for me it would be that. And he's one of those guys where you have to understand. When I ask people, like my dad would tell me, Jim Brown's the greatest player ever. You know what I'm saying? So knowing what he was and how good he was when he walked away and what he could have done in this league still, I would say him.
Yeah, I'm not going to say Barry Sanders because I covered the Lions. He would have continued playing if Wayne Fontes was the coach. Bobby Ross, he didn't like Bobby Ross. That's why he left earlier. I'm tired of the losing, but if Wayne Fontes was the coach, then he would have kept playing. The guy that I would say is Gale Sayers. The guy had a great career with the Chicago Bears, but it was a little abbreviated. So I'll go with Gale Sayers. All right, well, you know what? No show would be fun unless I could pick on Paul Feinbaum, okay? This guy considered leaving ESPN for the U.S. Senate, and to be a Republican, get this, until he was going to wait until the season wrapped up. Well, guess what? The guy's going to head and stay after all. He didn't want to face Tommy Tuberville. So my question to you people is, I was truly hoping he would run. I'm sick and tired of this guy. Get him the hell out of here. Who cares about what this bozo-looking guy has to say? Bozo the Clown, meet Paul Feinbaum. I wish he would have gotten off the air, disappeared, and gotten wrecked up in Washington. Tommy, I don't talk politics. We're talking Paul Feinbaum. Do you like the guy or do you not like the guy?
I like Paul Feinbaum because he's one of the few media guys that has told me that I've got the Bear Bryant story as a fairy tale correct. Now, he hasn't put me on a show to say that, but he has told me that in an email. So he knows that Bear Bryant stuff is baloney. Most of the media is afraid to talk about it. So I've always liked Paul Feinbaum, but yeah, very disappointed to see if he was going to run for office, he's going to do it as a Republican. Who are the Alabama Republicans are living in the 18th century, the 19th century? What was it, A.J. McCarron, the old Alabama quarterback? He's going to run for lieutenant governor. Said he wants to bring back old Alabama traditional values, that this country's going down the drain. Excuse me, I think Alabama is not an example of going back to the old days. And then, is Paul Feinbaum, is he going to turn out to be as dumb as Tommy Tuberville? The idiot wouldn't promote any of the guys who serve our country. The one story I've been waiting to see that's never been written is what all of Tuberville's former black players think of him and his stances in Alabama, because he's an old-fashioned Alabama guy.
So, Tommy, are you glad to see Paul Feinbaum staying at ESPN?
Yeah, he would have been. I don't really care, but I guess my biggest point is I'm disappointed to find out a guy as open-minded as him is going to run as a Republican.
Oh, I hope we get a short of that with Candy. Go ahead. What are your thoughts about Paul?
For a while there, I really enjoyed some of his insights, but as of late, I'm not as into his insights anymore. And if he wants to run, hey, go for it, because really, most guys that are running for any political office, I don't agree with them. I mean, they're so divisive these days that we need more people to bring the country together, not separate us.
Mel? I mean, I enjoy his commentary. He doesn't bother me. I don't know him as a person, but I enjoy his commentary. I enjoy what he has to say on ESPN. I don't watch his other show, his podcast or anything like that. But he has a differing views a lot of times from the other panel. So I enjoy him, Paul, in his viewpoint.
Ben, and then we're going to get Ben on one more topic before he rolls. Okay, go ahead.
Man, I was hoping that he ran for office so he can get the hell off the air. I mean, I'm not that big of a fan of Paul Feinbaum. Paul Feinbaum think he's smarter than everybody else. He rode the coattails of Alabama, Nick Saban when they was in their prime. I mean, his shows were strictly based on the freaking listeners calling in. He would just sit there and let them ramble on. I do not know Tommy Tuberville, but Tommy Tuberville should let you know anybody could run for office in Alabama and win. The stuff Tommy Tuberville does, I'm like, we can hear you, right? We can see you, right? I got recruited by Tommy Tuberville. I'm so happy I did not go to Auburn because I would not want to say out. So, yeah, I mean, Paul Feinbaum was trying to ride the coattails of ESPN and Sports Center, but I think when he really looked into it, he said, I don't think my reputation is worth that because it was going to get ugly had he chose to go run for office. I mean, I don't know him personally, but yeah, I thought he was going to go. But he definitely thinks he's one of the voices of college football. He think that what he says, is gold. But hey, man, if you listen to yourself talk long enough on national TV, you make millions of dollars, you'll start thinking you the man too. But hey, man, we got to listen to Paul Feinbaum. He's a big reason why I did not go to SEC Nation because I could not sit on the set and laugh at jokes of his that are definitely not funny.
I'll just say one thing. Jim Harbaugh wasn't sending him any Christmas card, and I don't care for the guy who was looking for my good written speech. Not going to get it. Go ahead, Marvin.
I don't take him serious. He is a shock jock to a degree, obviously, and he's there to fit a certain role and profile. I think ESPN has all different types of personalities and peoples and backgrounds, and you listen to his show, his call-in show. You get he represents the South, boy. That's they man. That's their number one guy. They love calling in that show to go off on him or to praise him or to agree with him, but he's the man. And he's doing exactly what they want him to do. He's playing the role they want him to play. It doesn't blow my mind that Tommy Tuberville's talking about, or AJ McCarron's talking about, going back to old values. These people are out of touch. They lack awareness. You know what I'm saying? And it's unbelievable when you consider, they've been in locker rooms with men from all walks of life, and they still walk away with this limited view of the world. But let me not go there. Anyway, so Paul Feinbaum on ESPN. He's entertaining. I'll say that.
Okay, Ben, you got one more topic. We'll let you do it rapid fire. Then you put your information out there, and that's this, okay? Former Alabama coach, everybody know Nick Saban claimed the NIL has been given the Big Ten an advantage over the SEC. Some quick thoughts on that.
I mean, yeah, they won the last 2 years. I mean, if that's giving them a competitive advantage, I guess so. I mean, Ohio State been good for a long time. Michigan just came to the party as of late. I don't know if it gave them a competitive advantage because we still talking about the same two teams in 2025 we was talking about in 2015. Ain't nobody else came to the party. We are talking about two teams. So if that's what you mean by a competitive advantage, have at it. I mean, Ohio State going to be one of the best teams in college football until Jesus come back. That's NIL or not because of what they do up there in Ohio. But Nick Saban understands, where the talent lies, and Ohio State got it going. They did it with Urban Meyer. They did it with Tim Tressel. Jim Tressel, they understand what it is, but what is he going to say if they start losing again? Or do they still got it? Now, they do got big money. I mean, Ohio State, it's a nice size. It's nice. Columbus is a nice size city. They're going to be able to get it. Michigan is a big time brand. But until teams other than Michigan and Ohio State are winning, we're talking about a very top heavy conference that has two big time programs, two big time brands. And right now, Ohio State, they waving the flag because they just beat Michigan. And I don't see nobody beating them. They might go back to back this year.
All right, well, Ben, put your information out there. I know you got to get going. 9:45 is your heart out, but put it out there. Glad you're able to slip this topic in. And then we'll go to everybody else with that. Then we'll go to a station break. Go ahead, Ben. Put it out there.
On IG, on Being Troop 84, on X, I don't know what. I had to change my account. Somebody hacked my account. I'm Being Troop. The craziness like 267. It's something like crazy numbers behind it. But that is me talking a little trash on there. Just make sure you keep listening. Listen out for me, man. Fan in the end, 84 reasons, no wetters in the fall. Just doing what I know how to do with people like yourselves. Candy, you already know what it is. Scott, Mel, Marvin. Listen, man, y'all take it easy on each other. I know I got to go, but y'all take it easy on each other at the end of this thing, man.
Hey, Ben, we'll see you next Tuesday night. Great job, my friend, okay?
Appreciate it.
All right, Ben.
Next Tuesday. All right, thank you, Ben. All right, what we're going to do with the rest of the group here is you can comment on this topic. We talked about, obviously, Nick Saban claiming the NIL has been given the Big Ten an advantage over the SEC. Marvin, your thoughts on this?
Well, I'll tell you like this. USC is in the Big Ten. We have the number one recruiting class in the nation. Tomorrow is National Signing Day, and we're looking just to add to that, not subtract. We're not looking to losing anybody. We're looking to add to that. So I tell you what, and I know Ohio State's in the top 5 right now. I mean, he ain't lying. It's looking like with SC leading the way, and some of these other schools, close to us, not UCLA, but some of, Ohio State, Michigan are ranked pretty high. It could be, a switch to the Big Ten moving forward.
Mel?
Yeah, just wait till Lincoln Riley bails on you guys, man. Then come holler at me. Look, Nick Saban, I mean, he's being very unauthentic. I mean, for a long time, the SEC had an advantage over everybody else because they had car dealers giving these guys cars or whatever. Now what happened is the Big Ten, it's a little different. These are tech guys. They got that tech money. It's not that car dealership money. They got tech money, so that money is a lot longer investment money. There's some wealthy individuals that have gone to school in the South. Don't get me wrong, but there's some real wealthy individuals that have gone to school in the Big Ten. So they got that different type of money. He's being very unauthentic when he's saying that. He's being an SEC homer. It's just the way that it is. I mean, that's why, the Big Ten wanted USC, UCLA, Oregon, Washington to come to the Big Ten to strengthen that brand, to strengthen the Big Ten brand. So he's being very unauthentic when he says that. I mean, Ohio State's been good for a long time. They're going to continue to be good. Have they gotten better? Probably so during the NIL era. Has some of the SEC schools fallen down a little bit? Probably so, because they're dealing with the car dealerships, and they got to get into some of that tech money.
Andy?
When we're talking NIL money, number 1 is Texas Longhorns at $22.2 million. Number 2 is Ohio State. 3 is LSU. 4 is Georgia Bulldogs. 5th is Texas A&M. 6th is Michigan. 7 is Alabama. 8 is the Gators. 9 is Clemson Tigers. 10 is Oklahoma Sooners. That's only 2, from the Big Ten. Is it maybe bringing a little more parity? Yes, maybe, because then you have more people spread out because they want to all earn money. But is it giving someone an unfair advantage? That's not an unfair advantage. You have every right to go out, and if you want to help support your Alabama Crimson Tide and bring up the NIL money for them, go right ahead. You can do that.
Tommy?
Talk about the pot calling the kettle black. Nick Saban saying anyone has an advantage. He had such an advantage at Alabama. For whatever reason, his program cashed in on social media more than any others because these kids were all following each other to go to Alabama through social media. And like Mel said, these car dealers down there in Alabama, it reminded me of the story when I was writing my book, Ray of Light, about Jimmy Ray and about how Duffy Daugherty led college football integration and the Underground Railroad. Duffy Daugherty, Mark Ingram's grandfather from Flint, Michigan, played for Duffy Daugherty when there were very few black players anywhere. His father played at Michigan State for Nick Saban, and I think George Perlis too. And then when Michigan State recruited him, this is a story that wasn't reported, but it's well talked about in Michigan State circles. Mark Ingram, the second, made it clear he wanted money. And then nobody ever explained how a third generation guy, a guy with a grandfather and a father from Michigan State shows up in Alabama driving a fancy BMW or whatever SUV it was. So Nick Saban, that's ridiculous for him to say something like that. But I got to say one more thing about Ohio State when I saw this on our list. After the game, Ryan Day said that we win with humility. And what he meant was they weren't trying to plant a flag on the Michigan field like Michigan did at Ohio State a year ago. And the irony of Michigan's players standing on the M to defend it so no Ohio State players tried to plant a flag is just ridiculous because A, none of them tried. That's what Ryan Day meant by humility. And B, Michigan started it. Shows you how clueless Michigan is.
Okay. All right, Candy, station break. I mean, we're going to continue the Fine Bomb Saban theme, and then we'll hit a couple pro topics as well. Candy, station break.
South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by our host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth. Talks about his 40-plus years in the media business and how it has evolved. Old school media versus new school media. If you know anybody that is trying to get into the media business, this would be a great gift idea for the holidays. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. There's also a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where there is a plethora of great content, so go check it out. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcast. If you want to advertise or sponsor a show or be a guest or have topic ideas, you can always email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Last but not least, if you see that red subscribe button in that lower right-hand corner, that means you have not yet subscribed to us. So please do so. Just click it, like us, share us, and then tell all your friends and family. And turn on the notifications so you're notified anytime we go live. Go to our YouTube channel, and if you want to listen to Alex Golish's press conference from after the game, it's up on our YouTube channel. So go check it out. Back to you, Scott.
All right. Well, we'll continue the Nick Saban theme since Tommy loves it. I don't really get too many opportunities with Nick Saban, but I'll tell you, I'm riding the Tommy Shanahan coattail with Nick Saban tonight. So we'll go ahead and add more Nick Saban to it. Nick Saban criticized Ohio State for having a psychological disposition about Michigan. Ohio State got beat last year by Michigan and probably had as much of it to do with winning a national championship as anything. They got this year's psychological disposition about Michigan. That's just killing them. Well, guess what? At the end of I guess it wasn't killing them that bad. Ohio State 27, Michigan 9. Well, Tommy, take the lead on this.
Hey, the reason Nick Saban left Michigan State for LSU was because he couldn't recruit against he couldn't recruit against Michigan. He wanted to go to LSU where he was the only big name school in the state. He owned the state. Nick Saban never won a Big Ten title at Michigan State in 5 years. George Perles won 2, his first one in his 5th year, and Mark D'Antonio won 3, his first one, I think, in his 3rd or 4th year. So that's what I have to say about Nick Saban.
Candy?
Nick Saban can say all he wants about Ohio State and Michigan. That is one of the biggest rivalries in the Big Ten. And let's face it, most of the time they would say if they can't win a national championship, as long as you beat your rival in that rivalry game, that's what was most important to your season. So, Nick, I guess you don't really realize how important that rivalry series is.
Mel?
Oh, I didn't. What's different about this question versus the last one? I thought I talked about Ohio State and Nick Saban being unauthentic
No, this
when he
is a little
talked
bit
about their
different.
NIL.
Go ahead. Candy, explain it to him what separates this one from the other one.
The other one was talking about NIL and giving the Big Ten an advantage. This one, he talked about the actual game between Ohio State and Michigan.
Oh, what did he say?
Scott, what did he say?
Yeah, I'll go over it again, Mel, just so you understand. He actually went on and said, okay, Ohio State got beat last year by Michigan, probably had as much to do with them winning a national championship, meaning that they motivate them as anything. They have this psychological disposition about Michigan that's just killing them. So in other words, the Michigan game motivated them to win the national championship game. You know, Michigan's in Nick Saban's head, Mel.
Yeah, it's possible. I don't, if you're going to lose, that's when you want to lose. You don't want to lose in the playoffs. That's for certain. So I mean, they gave them an opportunity to rest too, because they didn't have to play in the Big Ten championship, I don't believe, as well. So I mean, there were some advantages to losing that last game without question. And even though Ohio State was still one of the better teams in the country, and they're probably, they just ran into a Michigan team that was a lot more motivated than Ohio State was at that particular time. This year, Ohio State was better than Michigan without question. Michigan is a very young team. They will be better in the future, but they ran into a Michigan team that's not quite ready yet. They ran into a young Michigan team, and I think they'll be better prepared for them next year.
No question about it. Thank you, Mel. All right, Marvin.
You know, this guy coached the Michigan State-Michigan rivalry. He coached LSU versus, everybody in the Southeastern Conference. Then he coached at Alabama against Auburn in the Iron Bowl. He understands these rivalries. He understands how crazy these people are. He understands how big that rivalry is. So, with that said, I also know that Ohio State fan base ran Kirk Herbstreit and his family out of state. They did. So, maybe as a point, but nah, man, these fans are crazy. Yeah, they are crazy. The ones in the South, football is big in the South because that's really, you don't have a lot of huge cities. It's a different deal out there. Football is everything. So these people are crazy. The Midwest is the same way, I think. Huge rivalry. And Ohio State, man, they kicked Michigan's butt. Crazy part about it is Ohio State this year is probably better than last year. And they'll probably be better next year than they are this year. They loaded. If they are loaded and they are rocking, man.
Okay, back to Paul Feinbaum. He believes a group of 5 schools have no business being in the college football playoff. That's like having the AAA's best team in the major league playoffs. It doesn't happen in any other sport. I guess basically the way I look at it is this. He don't believe that the group of 5 guys belong in the college football playoff. Tommy, what are your thoughts about Feinbaum?
Yeah, that's ridiculous. That's like saying the University of Baltimore or Maryland County or whatever the name of that school was when they upset Virginia in the NCAA basketball playoffs. It's like saying they didn't belong in the tournament. That's what made the NCAA tournament what it is. And the big concern now about the NCAA tournament losing its luster is there weren't upsets last year because the mid-major guys are all going to the big schools with NIL money. So that's ridiculous for Paul to say. He's usually I would never have expected him to be that narrow-minded. I give him more credit than that.
See, that's why I brought him on here, so you could kick his butt one way or the other. Paul Feinbaum, get words of wisdom. Ever heard of March Madness? At least once upon a time, learn it. March Madness, just like I think you are the modern day version of Bozo the Clown combined with Oopsie the Clown. Candy.
There's a reason why they play the game because you never know who's going to win. And sometimes there's upsets. There have been teams that have made it how far into the tournament that you wouldn't have expected. So his comments, I think, are off base.
Mel?
I think there's some merit to what he's saying, but I believe that the kids have an opportunity to go out there and prove it on the field. Boise State, I think when they went in, they upset, what is it? Who was it? Who did they play? Oklahoma, I think it was. They beat in that one bowl game. I think it was. I'm not sure. But I think the kids have I think the kids should have the opportunity to go out there and prove it on the field. Yeah, I mean, we know the Big Ten and the SEC, it's different type of football. Week in and week out, it is very different type of football. You're not playing that same type of schedule in those other conferences, in the group of 5 conferences. It's very, very tough football. But if a team is able to run the table, maybe beat a group of 5, maybe beat one of the Power 4 schools in one of those games, and they end up being ranked, whereas they have the opportunity to play in the playoffs. I think the kids deserve that opportunity.
Well, next year I have a feeling the field's going to be increased to 16. Marvin?
Yeah, the thing about it is you just hate to see a playoff game where you have, a Boise State, or a school like that up against a traditional D1 Power 4, and it's just a blowout. It's just, it's like why waste the fans, time with this? It's tough, man. But again, like Kenny said, you got to play the game, and in this game there are always upsets. You got upsets every week, in all these sports. So the reality is in football, David can beat Goliath. We've seen it many times. And you have to remember that. And that's what we love about sports. We love the underdog. We love the team who had no business being there. You know what I mean? So I understand what Paul's saying. I do. But at the same time, I love the game, and I understand that you got to let these guys get up in there and create a system where they can. In a 16-team playoff, I think it makes a lot more sense to let some of these teams get in there.
Okay, rapid fire on this next one. Okay, the NFL is moving the Pro Bowl games to Super Bowl week on the Tuesday night, leading up to the Super Bowl. Do you like the idea, Tommy?
They can try whatever they want. Nothing's going to work. It's just like the NBA. These guys make so much money, they don't care about the All-Star games anymore. The All-Star games used to mean something to the players when they didn't really make that much money. And it doesn't mean anything. People stopped watching the Pro Bowl a long time ago.
Okay, Candy.
Yeah, I would agree. The Pro Bowl has lessened its significance than it used to have. It used to have more of a luster. Used to be more of a pat on the back if you weren't in the Super Bowl, but it was recognition of what you've done. But so many people don't play in it because they risk injuries and stuff like that. So it's not what it used to be.
Mel.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when Billy Sims was in the Pro Bowl, man. I mean, he would play hard. I mean, he was trying to get that MVP trophy because he was trying to get that MVP money. The money's changed. I know my dad went to some Pro Bowls. It was a lot different back then when the guys, because of the money, these guys, they really don't care about the game the way that the players before them did. And I think what they should do, because let's be honest, the Pro Bowl games stink. I don't watch them. I mean, they're garbage. I mean, the only thing that might be interesting is when the big fellas get out there and they do, pushing big stuff around or whatever. They should make it like the Superstars or something like that. Make it an Olympic style competition or something. Maybe people will watch it, but people really aren't tuning in to watch these guys play flag football, I don't think. And especially when one year they had different guys playing quarterback and stuff like that. It's not entertaining. And so what they have to do, because this is the entertainment business, they'd have to make it entertaining. They have to do something that's entertaining. Guys jumping onto a high jump, into a high jump pit, catching passes in a different type of way. That's not entertainment. That's just garbage. I mean, my grandkids do that, jumping into the bed. Nobody wants to see that stuff. So they have to figure out a way to make it entertaining or get rid of it. Go back to what it used to be, play an actual football game, figure out a way to make it entertaining or just do away with it.
Great commentary, Marvin.
Yeah, man, the Pro Bowl situation is just sad. To Mel's point, my dad played in a bunch of them, and they played a real game. Like they played a real game. You know what I'm saying? And to see what it became and what they're doing now, it's just but listen, the Drew Brees injury changed all that. I mean, I think the NFLPA and the league itself, these owners, they look at the game differently. And with CTE and concussions, it's just, is it a necessary game? And so I get how this thing played out. Even though I hate it because I am a football traditionalist at heart. So is it going to affect anything? No, people don't care about. I mean, I don't care about that. I don't watch that. I used to watch the Pro Bowl religiously when I was a young kid. It was a thing to me. It was again because it was a game with real stars, really going hard. So it doesn't impact me. I hate what it's become, but I understand.
I actually attended one when they were playing it in Miami, and the late Jerry Green says, "Why are you going to this thing? It's a joke." Well, I went to one. At least I could say I got my All-Star game out better. The Pro Bowl was great when it was held in Hawaii. The players got an all-expense trip to Hawaii at Aloha Stadium. We talked about that before. Let's talk about the Dallas Cowboys. They ended up defeating the last two Super Bowl teams within a 4-day span. Not a bad day's work when you beat Philadelphia and the Kansas City Chiefs, who are now 6-6. Marvin.
I didn't hear the last thing you said, Scott. I'm sorry.
Good 4 days for the Cowboys. They ended up beating
the
Eagles and the Chiefs, and now the Chiefs are 6-6.
Yeah, listen. Again, it's one of those things where early in the season you don't know who's who. You don't know who's real, who's not. There was a point where the Cowboys, I think, were 3-5-1, and then they beat the Eagles and the Chiefs, obviously with Mahomes, have been to 7 straight conference championships, and now he's looking at possibly now for making the playoffs. But a lot of football left. Mathematically, I know they're still in it. If there's a guy who can do it that I believe in, it is Pat Mahomes. He has made me a believer. I don't know if he has everything around him that he needs But I'm impressed with what the Cowboys are doing and what the Chiefs are doing.
Mel?
Yeah, there are a lot of ebbs and flows to the season, and the Cowboys, they're riding a wave right now. They're playing very, very good football. Nobody can deny that. Dak is playing at a very high level. This George Pickens trade is looking like highway robbery. Why the Steelers allowed him to leave is unbeknownst to me. And they're running the football effectively, and they're stopping the run, and they're playing good all around. They're playing good complementary football all around. So, and they're riding. Like I said, they're playing very confident, and that makes them a very dangerous team. They have a lot of belief in themselves. I don't think a lot of people believed in them early on, especially with the mess going on with Micah Parsons. Nobody really had any belief in them, but they never stopped believing in themselves, and they've come out, and they've proven that they're a very quality football team. Like the Lions, they're struggling right now. They're grasping at straws. They're really trying to figure out who they are, what their identity is, how they're going to go forward. They're struggling. Dallas is not. They're hit their stride. I mean, they're in mid stride, and they're looking poised to make a run. I'm not saying they're going to make a playoff run, but looking poised to make a run because it's going to be very, very difficult to make it as a wild card team.
Candy?
The Cowboys. Any given team on any given Sunday, and that's why the Chiefs are 6-6. I mean, the Dallas Cowboys, they lost to the Carolina Panthers, but then they beat the Eagles. They lost, they've had some good games, and then they've had some not so good games where they've lost. And more of it, I think, is they've put together good quarters, and when the quarters matter, were like the fourth quarter when they needed to. Obviously they tied my Packers, and that's gonna play a role in whether they get into the playoffs or not for both teams, I believe. And I think Dallas might be on the wrong end of that tie then, because I don't know that it's gonna help them at that time. If you listen to Chicks and Salsa, which was on the Chicks podcast tonight at 7:30. The girl we were talking, Megan, is Queen of Hoops, but she's a Dallas fan, and she says don't be fooled by how Dallas is playing right now. They've gotten lucky. They've gotten some calls lately, and she doesn't think it's for real, that they're for real. So,
okay. Tommy?
Yeah, I mean, let's give Dak Prescott a lot of credit. He's just playing at such a high level. And let's also give Brian Schottenheimer a lot of credit for keeping that team together despite having to deal with Jerry Jones. I guess Sean Payton and guys like that are getting mentioned as coach of the year because they're at the top of their division and might do something in the playoffs. But gosh, if I had a vote, I'd have to study it a little bit more. But off the top of my head, I'd vote for Brian Schottenheimer because nobody expected Dallas to do anything this year.
Well, I know I didn't. Hats off to the Cowboys. Let's go ahead and talk about the Chicago Bears. They are for real. They ended up handing the Eagles their second straight loss. What are your thoughts about the Chicago Bears, Thomas?
Yeah, I guess Ben Johnson, he's another guy that deserves a lot of credit for Coach of the Year. The Bears started out slowly, and they've stayed together. Their quarterback play has improved. I haven't really watched the Bears, just kind of read about them. But, yeah, it's an impressive story for Ben Johnson. You know, a lot of times these coordinators, when they get promoted, they don't work out, but this one has.
Hey, Eddie, I got news for you. One of my top priorities next week is to talk about the New England Patriots. So thanks for bringing Mike Vrabel up. Candy? And I should point out one other thing. The Packers and the Bears game has actually been flexed to the 4:25 p.m. slot time. I believe it's coming up this Sunday. Go ahead, Candy.
It has been. They've also flexed week 16 to the night game, the Sunday night game, when they play. So they play at Lambeau this week. And then 2 weeks from now, the Packers play the Bears again at Soldier Field. I don't think most of us didn't see this coming. I will say that Samir, who appears on our Fire Up show, did at the beginning of the season predict that the Bears were going to take our division. Not happy about that prediction, but hey, that was his prediction, and look, so far he's right. They're right now they're in first place. Are they for real? Ben Johnson has them playing enough to win the games. Do I think they're outdoing everybody else? Again, they found ways to win. They beat the Eagles, they beat the Steelers, Vikings, Giants, Bengals. They lost to the Ravens in week 8. They beat the Saints, the Commanders, the Raiders, the Cowboys. They lost to the Lions in week 2, and they lost to the Vikings in week 3. So, and the Lions demolished them in week 2. They lost 52-21, but that was early in the season. And they lost to the Vikings, and the Vikings haven't been doing very well. So have they improved? Yes. Maybe the Ben Johnson culture is changing how they're and evolving. So I'm just hoping that they don't do well this weekend.
All right, what I'm going to do tonight is I have a topic I want to talk about with Vance Joseph. I'm going to go ahead and hold that over to next week instead. What I'm going to do is allow Mel and Marvin to talk about it. I want to make sure I allow Mel and Marvin an opportunity to talk about Saturday's game, and I also want Tommy to have an opportunity to talk about the Shanahan report. So there'll be one topic that will be held over on Vance Joseph about whether he should become a head coach or what he's done with Patrick Mahomes. That will be on next week's agenda. So I want to make sure we get these two things in there, right? Mel, what are your thoughts about what we've seen, obviously, with the Bears?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody expected this from the Bears. I think everybody expected the Bears to be good, to be better, but not this. And it just shows you that leadership matters. You know, having the right guys in the right position matter. And we, you know, in Detroit, we knew that we had a window, and you know, Ben Johnson gave us an extra year when he decided to come back last year, and the Lions, they went out and they were 15-2, and then, you know, kind of crapped in their pants in the playoffs. But we knew 2 years ago when they played against San Francisco in the NFC Championship that was their time. I don't know what happened at halftime. I don't know, what was said. The guys were planning their parties or whatever for the Super Bowl. I don't know what happened at halftime, but a whole nother team came out there after halftime, and, you know, they squandered that big lead that they had against San Francisco that year. So I wouldn't say it's surprising, because I think everybody thought Ben Johnson was a good coach. Nobody knew, obviously, he was going to be this good and be able to turn around this quickly. I always liked Caleb Williams as a quarterback. I thought he was the best quarterback, when he was a junior. I thought he was the best quarterback in college football at that particular time. So it's not surprising me what he's doing. It's surprising me all the negative talk, surrounding him. But what Chicago's doing is very surprising, to be honest with you, that they've turned it around and they become this good this quickly.
Yeah, they're a heck of a story. All right, Marvin.
Yeah, Ben Johnson. I mean, he was holding out in Detroit for the right situation, and what he was holding out for was a generational quarterback who he can really groom, and a guy who can really get him over the hump and take him to the next level. And that's and you don't. And this is his first time being a head coach, so you don't know what to expect. The reality is, in year one of this situation, you've seen the Bears just get better. Canny talked about how they got beat in week 2 and week 3. Again, it's a long season. It's a long season. You're trying to implement a new offense. You don't have 2-a-day practices anymore. That's a big deal when you're a young quarterback trying to develop into a whole new system. But you're seeing this kid, Caleb, playing more efficient. Listen, last week the Bears they had 2 guys run for over 100 yards against the Philadelphia Eagles. How crazy is that? That you saw 2 backs, not just that 2 backs ran for 100 yards on the same team, but against the Eagles, a team who prides themselves on their inside play. The offensive line play, which hasn't been great this year, and their defensive line play. You know what I mean? So I think the Bears are the real deal. Rome Odunze and DJ Moore and Loveland and Swift. They brought guys in, some free agents in. They have 4 new linemen this year, and you're seeing it come together, and they're getting better and more efficient. This is a team to watch out for. They are not just up and coming. I think they're here. I think they're here. And I love how the NFL has put these division games at the end, make these games relevant, make sure teams aren't bailing. Teams aren't trying to tank, and players are playing hard, because it matters. It matters. So yeah, the Bears are the real deal. I definitely am buying in. I think Ben Johnson is the guy, and I think he has a guy pulling the trigger.
All right, I got about 7 minutes, 7 minutes on this one. USC trounces UCLA. Had a great show on Saturday. Tommy Shanahan report will come up next. Candy will wrap us up with the final station break. Marvin, you got about 3 minutes or 4 minutes. We'll give you the extra minute because UCLA lost. Mel probably don't like me for it. Don't matter. Well, I don't know. Whatever.
Oh, they
Yeah.
lost? UCLA lost? I didn't realize it.
Yeah. Okay. All right, Marvin. You're on the clock. You got about 3 minutes to explain why you're a genius, and obviously you wear that Trojans thing proud.
Genius. Oh,
Listen, you know, USC. Let's tell the whole story, man. They were coming off a big loss, hurtful loss against Oregon, just 2 weeks ago, and UCLA. This was the last game of the season for us. It was at home. USC had been undefeated at home all year. That's one of the many things that we got right this year. We played tough, at the crib, and we came into this game as 21.5-point favorites, which that's just disrespectful, and that's how low the bar is for them. He's had because they covered. You know what I mean? That's not about winning anymore. But anyway, it's a situation where we came into the game without our top two receivers, Mekhi Lemon and Jacoby Lane were out of the first quarter for personal reasons. But USC came out there, opening drive, and marched down the field with backup players against UCLA's first-team defense. We went length of the field, scored. The crazy part about it is after that, we didn't do too much. UCLA actually went ahead and was up 10-7 at halftime. Now, for a SC fan, you realize that this year we've been a second-half team. In the second half of that game, USC scored 22 points to UCLA 0. USC had 4 sacks. USC, listen, the quarterback for UCLA played tough. He played tough, maybe his most gritty game of the year. He really did. But at the end of the day, I think we just had too many athletes, too much pressure, too much of a rush. Our running back played well. He was a home run hitter. He closed the game out for us really well in the end, King Miller. And even though Mekhi Lemon didn't start the game for personal reasons, he was significant. He had 1 catch. It was a 32-yard touchdown pass, and that really helped us get things going. So for us, this was a situation where we closed the year out with a win against our rival. Again, undefeated at home. We're proud about that. And as we go into this bowl game, because we're going to a bowl game, that's not what we wanted. That wasn't the standard. But it's
one too.
You win.
Back in the dorms.
All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to turn over to Mel. But
you owe me a minute. I was looking at the clock, Scott. I could have gone to 148. I'm looking.
All right, go ahead. Go to 148. Well, I'll extend you by 20 seconds, but next week wait. I'll extend you inside the Pickland, but we will talk about the new UCLA head football coaching hire next week. Go ahead, Marvin, pick it up.
Yeah, nevertheless, a win like this, we had a ton of recruits at the game. Tomorrow, we're going to sign the #1 recruiting class in the nation. A lot of those guys were at that game to watch us beat UCLA by almost 3 touchdowns. And it's just great momentum moving forward for this Trojan program.
All right, Marvin, you let me know when you're done. You done?
I'll yield you some of my time.
Yeah, I have to look at this as soccer. I have to give,
not so
and I don't know nothing about
California.
soccer. I have to give Marvin extra time. I still don't know anything about soccer. Extra time. Anything else you want to add, Marvin?
No, that's enough.
Okay, well, that's okay. I'm glad you got it. I'm sorry to cut you off, pal. I'm looking at all kinds of things as well. All right, Mel, go ahead.
Yeah, that's not that much to say. I mean, we got it handed to us, and after halftime, I was going to be bold and brash and text Marvin. I realized that something told me, nah, don't do that, man. Don't do that. And I'm glad that I didn't.
You ain't trusting now.
You guys live in Atlanta anyways. What
if the game?
Let it be known.
Here.
Let it
if the
be
game
known.
was 30 minutes, we would have been good. But unfortunately, the game is 60 minutes. Now, the nice thing about the game, and I forgot, we didn't mention this, but UCLA and USC both wear their home uniforms when they play against each other, and that's because they shared the Coliseum. They shared that home together, and that's just been a tradition that every year, no matter where they play, even though they play UCLA's home field is the Rose Bowl, they both wear their home uniforms when they play against each other, and there would be a team that would be designated home in a way. But I think that's nice, and I think. That's a nice thing about college football, and that's the only nice thing about that game was they looked nice in their uniforms for the brief, for a brief period of time. But now that product they put on the field, I mean, it's tough. I mean, like I said, USC has the better talent. They had the better coaching. They have more money than we do. They have more criminals on their team than we do, and they won the game. I just have to take that one. There's nothing I can do. I just have to take it.
Yeah, Mel. Listen. When you recruit a lot of your dudes from South Central LA like we do, you get a certain element. When you recruit your dudes from West LA like y'all do, you get a certain element. We just ain't the same. You know what I mean? It's a whole other situation. And that's okay. That's okay, man. Call us what you want.
We're getting too many guys from Huntington Beach.
We had the Victory Bell. You owe me breakfast at Bagelicious. We ain't even talked about the debt that you have to me.
Yeah, I know.
They only take cash. They only take cash. We got to figure out a day. And we're going to take a picture and upload it to the South Florida Tribune when we had breakfast, enjoying my bagels and lox.
That's good. I'm taking my kids' piggy bank there. I'm paying them in pennies.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, since you guys both live in Atlanta, why don't you go to the Big Chicken? I'll see who's throwing the.
No, we ain't gonna do the
wait. Let me get one word in here, or maybe a few. The Big Chicken was a good place when Mel and I got together. That extra crispy chicken over at the Big Chicken was pretty good. So we'll see if you guys throw a couple of pieces of chicken in each other.
You can't eat too much of that, Scott. That's not good for you.
Nah.
Oh no, I'm actually trying to lose weight now. I really am.
It's good, but you can't eat much of it.
No,
we'll go to Williamson Brothers. We'll go to Williamson Brothers next time. Get us some barbecue.
Yeah, I'll tell you that barbecue's good. I'm telling you, except when at Hard Rock Stadium, never mind I'll tell you about that. I love it. I'll tell you one thing though.
And get some soul food.
What I did learn is at least the three of us could do a Jaguar show for another network, which would be pretty good. I would make you guys do Val Stars over there. But no, it was pretty good. We had a good show on Saturday. I only did it because of you two guys. It was unbelievable. And the response we got at that early time slot, Candy, was pretty good, wasn't it?
It was, yes. Very surprising, but very good.
So Mel, Marvin, and I may be onto something. Go ahead, Tommy.
Yeah, I wanted to make a comment. I'm glad Mel brought that up. That was one thing I was going to say. One of the great things about that rivalry is that they wear their home uniforms.
Right.
And it dates back to when they both played at the Coliseum as their home field. I think for a while there, the NCAA wouldn't let them, but they've been able to go back to it. But I've been to that game. I've covered that game in the late 80s and the early 90s when UCLA was rolling. And those were big games, and those stadiums, the Rose Bowl was full, the Coliseum was full, and it was electric. It's a great rivalry when both programs are strong.
Well, since now that you're actually behind the mic, Tommy, you got about a minute and a half or so, 2 minutes talk with the Shanahan report as we carry the other topic over. Go ahead, Mr. Shanahan. And by the way, Tom Shanahan and Marvin Powell will be on tomorrow night's edition of the Sports Exchange. They have plenty of things to talk about. Go ahead, Tommy.
Yeah, Tom Shanahan report, my book, Ray of Light, The Right Thing to Do, or the true stories of college football integration and the progress that took place in the 60s and the brave pioneers long before the myth about Bear Bryant in the 1970 USC Alabama game was made up, 2 decades after the game was played by John Papadakis. And I also have a children's book about Doherty and his father being instrumental to the Underground Railroad. Buy those books, help for Christmas presents, help me with my daughter's tuition. TomShanahan.report.
And tomorrow night, Tommy and I and Marvin and Jacob Chris is going to be involved in this. We're going to talk about the Michigan State hire of Pat Fitzgerald. I think it's a pretty good hire. We didn't have a chance to get on tonight. There's so many other things. Perhaps we might even bring it up a little bit next week with a few people, other voices as well. But we want to make sure we get that out there right away. So with that said, turn over to Candy for a station break, and then we'll let everybody know how they can get a hold of them. All right, Candy, go ahead.
South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by our host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth. Talks about his 40-plus years in the media business and how it has changed. Go get your copy today. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. There is also a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where there is a plethora of great content, so go check it out. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcast. If you want to be a guest or have topic ideas, or you want to sponsor or advertise, you can always email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. We actually do know that somebody did advertise with us and he got a big contract. So, hey, you just never know. So if you want to advertise again, email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. If you see that red subscribe button in that lower right-hand corner, that means you have not yet subscribed to us. What are you waiting for? Just do it. Click it, like us, share us, and then turn on your notifications so you're notified anytime we go live. Thanks, Scott.
And one little footnote about the USF Stadium. I think they're going to have one of the largest bars in any college football stadium. So if you like to get your booze and consume some of that stuff, go on out there. I don't drink anyways. It doesn't matter. But I throw that little tidbit out there. I've been looking at some of the diagrams, and one of the things is they're going to have one big bar inside the stadium. I don't know. We'll see how it turns out. A couple of years away, we'll see what kind of product they put on the field. That'll be the key to see how many people are drinking. At any rate, if they do, at least the dorms aren't too far away, especially if you're the students. All right, Marvin, let everybody know how they can get a hold of you.
Yes, I'm Marvin on the mic. Those are my social media handles. You can catch me with the South Florida Tribune Tuesday evening, Wednesday morning, Wednesday evening with more to come. You can catch me on Locked On USC twice a week, and I'm with USCJ on occasion.
All right. Well, Marvin and I and Mel have a lot of other projects we're working on. Tommy and I always working on projects. Candy, well, she's one of a kind. What else can I say? All right, Mel, go ahead.
You can catch me at on all the social media at Melfar Jr. and you follow what we have going on for the youth here in Georgia and also up in Michigan at melfarsuperstarfoundation.org.
All right. Well, my goal next week, obviously, is to get more pro stuff on there, but obviously college football seems to be dominating the headlines. We have to roll with what there is. I've never seen so many coaching situations in my life, but we're doing the best we can to address one of them. One of the things we're going to be talking about next week will be the LSU situation. We're going to talk about the Brian Kelly fiasco and how that thing got turned around, getting Lane Kiffin in there. And there'll be a couple of other things we're going to address as well, in addition to the one carryover topic as well. So meanwhile, great job by my entire crew tonight. Ben Troop, Tom Shanahan, Candy Ebling, Marvin Powell, Mel. These are the people that I feel in my mind have always been with us. My goal is at some point to get Steve Ballesteri on here, and Mel knows all about him. And we're going to try to get some New England Patriots talk at some point. Marvin, and Tommy, I don't know what you know about Steve Ballesteri, but Mel Farr and I know about him well. I'll be reaching out to Steve pretty soon so we could talk Patriots as well. Stephen Reichel, looking forward to having you back on before it's all said and done. Any closing thoughts before we call it a night? Tommy, Candy, Marvin, Mel, anybody, one last thing you want to say?
Go Green.
There you go. All right. Well, with that said, I hope you can join us tomorrow night. And by the way, there's one thing I do want to say. An early happy birthday to Candy Ebling, who will be, it is her birthday tomorrow night. My goodness. The birthday
Happy
girl
birthday,
is on
Candy.
it. Give her that big old Wisconsin, Indiana smile. Few people
Happiest
realize that she
born
was
day
born in
ever.
Indiana, but she's a Wisconsin girl. Happy birthday, Candy, from everybody on the crew over at Inside the Pigskin. And I'll be going ahead and, well, I don't know what I'll be doing at 12:01, but I'll be saying a few words in her ear. Happy birthday, Candy. And I hope you have many, many more from everybody on the network on Inside the Pigskin as we wrap it up with about 2 minutes ago. That's not bad compared to Orleans. One. Never mind. We're done. See you next Tuesday night. And for Marvin and I and Tommy and Candy, we'll see you tomorrow night. A lot more hay on the way. Good night, everybody.
Night.
Good night. Thanks.
Good night.
Happy birthday, Candy.